All right, you're all set.
Okay, I'd like to convene this meeting of the Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee for Tuesday, August 12th, 2025 at 10 a.m. I'll do a roll call and I'll read the thing. Members: Sarah Boyce,
Here.
Doug Rose,
Here.
Gary Beller,
Here.
and Liz Phelps.
Here.
And welcome. Jennifer Carberg,
Here.
here in spirit. Hillary Hedges-Rayport,
Here.
Matt Fee.
Here.
Okay, and staff: Leah Hill.
Here.
Okay, good morning. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. Please be aware that other people may be able to see this, and take care not to share your device's screen. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Please silence all devices and phones. For items of public comment, after committee members have finished their discussion on an agenda item, the chair will afford members of the public up to 3 minutes to speak. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their name and any affiliations. To give public comment, you must be recognized by the chair and speak through the chair. There is to be no crosstalk with others in attendance. That goes for everybody in the meeting. To be recognized for making a public comment, use the raised hand feature by clicking on the reaction tab at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Then click on the raise hand button. When you finished your comment, please click the lower hand button. It's important for me to note CREC isn't required by law to take public comment. We do so because we need your invaluable input. We view public comment as a privilege, so please remain respectful in your comments and do not disparage other speakers or members of this committee. Okay, so I did that. We'll take public comment now on items, on anything that is not on this agenda. Are there any such comments? We don't have any members of the public. So, and welcome Joanna and welcome Tim. Okay, approval of minutes for April 8th, 2025, May 27th, 2025, and July 8th, 2025.
So moved.
Sarah?
I just have an edit. I wasn't at the two April or May meeting, and that is correct. But on the July meeting, my name is spelled differently a few different times. So it's B-O-I-S. There's no E at the end.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's just different in a few places, so that's fine. But thank you.
You mean you're not from Idaho?
I was thinking about Boise.
Boys.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor by roll call. Sarah Boyce,
Hi.
Doug Rose,
Aye.
Gary Beller,
Aye.
Liz Phelps,
Hi.
Jennifer Carberg,
Aye.
Hillary Hedges-Rayport,
Aye.
Matt Fee,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Joanna Roach.
Aye.
Okay, great. First item, continued discussion on generating ideas for coastal resilience outreach, including a potential video or videos. And Leah says Sarah will talk to us first. All you, Sarah.
Thanks, guys. So at the last meeting, I said I would put together sort of a summary / proposal about what we talked about. And so I can share my screen. I'm sorry to say I didn't have it in time to go out with the meeting minutes. But this is really specific to the video. So we talked about a couple of different things of outreach, and I think we can revisit that, I'm assuming, at different points about how we do outreach. But so that discussion went in a lot of different directions. But I think my goal, or what I thought was the reason, what I said I would do, was to summarize specifically the video portion, because we have some money to use specific to a video. or a series of videos or whatever. So that's what this is intended to be, not to negate other discussions about the outreach. And I'm not trying to say that I think only the video is good, but to move forward, I thought we should kind of piece out the different or portion out the different types of outreach. And so if it's okay to share my screen, Pete.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Okay. Make sure I'm sharing the right thing. Okay, so this is just a very simple Word document. There's not a ton on it, but it was just to sort of summarize and highlight what we discussed. So this is for those of, I think most of you were there at that last July meeting, but that there was from the Article 10 Coastal Resiliency, or from Article 10, there's just under $10,000, I think. Leah, please correct me on that. That can be used specifically for outreach. And we know one of the things we had talked about was a video or potentially series of videos. I'm going to scroll down so I know that sometimes hurts eyes. As Leah said in the meeting, it meets our Coastal Resiliency Plan recommendation 1-1, which is community outreach. And so that's a great, sometimes we have a hard time with CRAC, like moving forward on projects, and outreach is something that we can do and we have funding for. So like, instead of getting bogged down, let's like move forward. Exciting times. And so I broke this out into like, as if we were going to someone, a professional who might be helping us with videos. So our goals, what kind of trickled up or not trickled up, trickled down, I don't know, whatever. The highlight of the conversation was basically talking about what is coastal resiliency. And then in addition, what specifically does CRAC do to help with resiliency? And then maybe there's some call to action. So those were 3 different things that we talked about. The audience was both year-round community and seasonal community. I think this is really a focus on residents, whether you're seasonal or year-round, but not just visitors. Although, of course, people can take away something, anyone can take away from these messages. And then the message being, we talked about a few different messages, but these were the things that I think had the most traction, which was, what is the problem? How does it affect you? And what are we doing about it? And then emphasize that this is we want to emphasize that this is a consistent, sustained effort. And I think that speaks to people only hearing about CRAC either when something major comes up or there's a town meeting vote or something. So a lot of people don't know the month to month or work of what we are doing. So by kind of having this consistent, sustained effort, then people will kind of be hearing about us more and more. And so, know that we are working in this realm. We want to emphasize or highlight the vulnerabilities of daily life and then the actions being taken. Questions that I had that I wasn't sure about was as we move forward with this, would the actions being taken include really just CRAC actions, the town, obviously the town as well. So like what actions are moving forward to address any problems that we have brought up in these messages? Or do we want to also include our community partners, different organizations, so highlighting different projects and efforts moving forward? I would recommend that we kind of highlight all these things if we're presenting like a problem with vulnerability of daily life and like what Nantucket as a whole is doing for it to help and what's CRAC's role in that. The length, it's like what I would say we as the committee work on our messaging and language and what we want out of it. And then we talk to the people who make these videos. There's lots of different on-island companies that do this. What can we do within our budget and have a recommendation? And then lastly, there was a big discussion about the outlets for these videos. I think the Dreamland was the #1 where people are a captive audience and see something over and over again. Other options were the Steamship or Highline where there's something playing on this video screen. Of course, we want to be able to share at least a portion of these videos on social media. And then various websites. And by various websites, I mean many of us who work for specific organizations or even within the town can have a landing place for these videos, or whether they're just on YouTube generally. Other considerations that we talked about was bringing it back to basics. So very basically, like, what is resiliency? What are we working towards? What are the issues? I think a lot of what we talked about lends itself to multiple short videos. So potentially, once again, this is what will, I think, come up as we work with professionals, doing lots of filming, but have that potential for multiple short snippets of what the problem is and then how we're addressing it. I think there was a big discussion about CRAC members. I think a video like this, we want there to be longevity to the message. If we put the money into a video that's going to play at the Dreamland or, you know, kind of live on, we want it to address specific issues and potential projects, but be less about the individual members because there is turnover with individual members. And we want this to be more about the message than the people. That was my opinion, but that was discussed a little bit at that meeting. We have other avenues that we're already working on that. And so those were the very basics to kind of bring together all the things we talked about specifically to the video outreach portion. But I'm happy to change any of this or share this, or this can be a jumping off point for conversation.
Thank you, Sarah. Since I wasn't there, and right now you just gave me three things I'm trying to keep in my brain. So for length, you know, we should pay attention to how long the previews are at the movies, and I don't know if you want to sit there with a stopwatch and time that, but you know, we know that they're fairly brief. We don't want to bore people. We don't want them to, we want to just say it all succinctly and prioritize what we want to say, but you know, we're not trying to make a short film. And then I think it's really important that somewhere in there we explain each of the groups working on coastal resilience, so people don't confuse us with Acclimate and Remain and whoever else is trying to help the town in Nantucket, so that the public knows that we are taking the lead on it. We created the coastal resilience plan. We are making these projects happen and getting help from the other organizations without making them feel less than. And I think it's important that we start off the film with, you know, this is the problem, like you say, and then right away say we've created the CRP and we're doing this and this is why. And so those were my initial thoughts. Does anybody else want to add to this?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead, Tim.
First of all, this is great. I think it's good to have something specific and on paper to start thinking about. I've been thinking about this a lot, and just sort of as a background, I think that, first of all, I think a video is a good idea. I think the general issue of communicating, of CRAC communicating, is a really complicated one. I think there are a lot of stakeholders. There are a lot of different messages that could go out. And I think that it's probably, if we were going to try and say, okay, what's an overall media strategy? I don't think we're capable of doing that in these meetings. I think we would need a professional to really do that. But I do think a sort of general purpose video for the Dreamland and wherever else it can go, the ferries. By the way, I'd be interested to know if any of the media people on the island actually have data on impressions, on what people watch, how many people actually go to the Dreamland and see something, how many people watch stuff on the High Line. If anybody's done that sort of research, that would be really helpful. But anyway, I think a general purpose video is a good idea. I think we should not try to do too much with it. I think people are going to be focused. People get focused on projects. A couple of people in previous meetings have said this, and I think it's true. I think the general idea of coastal resilience just kind of goes over people's heads. I think they dismiss it. Not that it's not important to say something about it, but I think people get engaged when there's an actual project that's either in the works or going to be in the works, and what that's going to mean, what it's going to fix, when it's going to happen, how it's going to affect the surrounding properties, all that kind of stuff. I think the focus should be, as much as we can, on specific actions that are coming up. And I wouldn't worry too much about who's doing what. I think the idea is the general idea is the town is working on this. There is a really detailed plan out there that's been created, and here's how it's moving forward. I don't think we should get into the weeds about all the different organizations and what they're doing. I just think that's a waste of people's time. So anyway, my initial thoughts on it.
Okay, Tim, thank you. Okay. Sarah, can you put the screen back so I can see people?
Oh, yes, sure.
Okay. Go ahead, Hillary.
Thanks. First, could that document be emailed around? Thanks. Thank you for putting it together. I wanted to second and emphasize what Tim said. I think it would be great if we didn't mention crack once in this email, in this video. And I guess I'm saying that it's kind of provocatively. I think because I know I'm a little confused. I'm new here, so I'm a little confused. Is the goal to educate people about crack as a committee and an initiative, or is the goal to educate people that your town has priorities and projects related to resilience, and we want you to support them when they come to town meeting? Because if the focus is the latter, it's really just the town speaking. This committee is advisory to the select board. And, at some point, this committee might be considered to be advisory to the NPDC or to the planning board. These things are fluid. This committee could change, but what's not going to change is the goal of making Nantucket more resilient. And the fact that we're asking everybody to sacrifice a little bit and think about the long-term goal of resilience with everything they do, and to support these appropriation requests and bylaws. So I would actually like to see a video that really emphasizes the projects and the goals and just the whole context of resiliency. And then maybe at the end, there's a screenshot that says, here are all of the partners that make this possible and all of the services and people who, you might hear from. But that's not the focus. I have one other comment. I'm not sure if you're looking for aesthetic direction, but as I've thought about this, I've just had a very strong feeling that animation could offer a lot. I think the drone shots, is it a real estate ad? Is it what is it? We see them so much, and the island is so beautiful, and we see these pictures of our island all the time. So I'm thinking of some of these explainer videos that actually just use line drawings. They're very imaginative. I think what we want is for people to let go of the image of the island today, because that is shifting. And we have to get people to accept even bigger shifts to prepare for the shifts that nature is going to bring if we don't do anything. So I just wanted to encourage a really loose, creative animation as a possible creative approach to throw out there to whoever our production team ends up being, to really capture people's attention and open up their imagination in a more expansive and distinctive way.
Okay, thank you, Hillary. Go ahead, Joanna.
I'm having trouble with my camera, so I'm going to switch computers. So I'm going to exit and come back, but I do have something to say, and I just want to be able to be on the camera when I'm saying it. So I'll be back in 2 minutes. If you can go to Gary, that would be great.
Okay, no problem. Go ahead,
Thank
Gary.
you.
Right, thank you. A couple of different types of comments. One comment is that if we're going to do short videos, to me, what I think might be helpful is for us to be able to capture on a short video the work that is currently being done on some of our ongoing priorities. In other words, most people don't have any idea whether anything is happening now. We do have 40 priorities, and there is work going on with a whole bunch of them. And to the extent that we might be able to get some short videos, just some indication that, yes, there are actually people working to do stuff, or it's been done already. To me, that would be something I think might be helpful. That's one comment. Second comment I have is a little bit completely off the wall. I forget if it came up in my conversation with Hillary last week, but someone I was talking with, and we were talking about our committee, and they were horrified to know that the name of our committee is crack, because everyone associates crack with a horrible drug problem. And I've been thinking about it, and I say, you know, that's absolutely right. Every time we mention crack, the first thing that comes to people's mind is, this is crazy. Why are we dealing with these drugs? And then they find out it's good. Anyway, instead of just saying it's not a great name for us, I actually have a possible suggestion. I was trying to play around. If we had to change our name tomorrow, I would recommend that instead of calling ourselves crack, call ourselves RESCOM, Resiliency Committee shortened, RESCOM, because every time I tell people about crack, the first comment they make is, crack? I say, that's the name of your committee? And I say, yes, it's coastal resilience. So it's just, that's my thought about that. It's a little bit off the subject, but I think something worth thinking about. Finally, I have one other third thought, which is I sent Leah a copy of an article that appeared in the, it was a special section of the New York Times on July 13th. And the name of the section was, How Do You Choose Where You Want to Live? And it was a long 13 or 14 page special section, which is a handout that really was very nicely written to talk about all of the issues people should be thinking about as they decide where to make their home, including whether it's coastal resilience issues or insurance or something like that. And I was thinking, I don't know if we could ever figure out how to get a shortened version of that, but a good handout that someone could put together and would eventually be given out to whoever wants them on the island, but it would stay with them. They'll be able to leaf through it from time to time and see what's going on. That's a little different than a video thing, but I was very impressed by that article that special section that I read. Those are my 3 comments.
All right, thank you, Gary. Joanna's on, so we'll go with Joanna and then go to Sarah. You're still on mute, Joanna.
Sorry about that. My first
Okay.
question actually is for Leah. I have a question for you. So when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about the fact that what we're really doing is making a marketing video about coastal resilience for the town. And like some of the members here have said before me, I don't think it's about crack at all. I think it's about marketing coastal resiliency as a concept, right? And so what I guess the question I have from the town position is this an activity that you are delegating to this committee? Or is this something that the Natural Resources Department is going to take on? I guess I'm unclear on that.
Yeah, Leah.
Thanks,
Go ahead.
Peter. I envision it as a collaboration between CRAC, the Florencia, the communications office, and NRD.
Okay. And I think to the folks who were talking about, the Dreamland in particular, those videos are usually 90 seconds and they have a media kit and all the stats, I think, either on their website or it's available upon request, because I've purchased that screen time before. And you can look at that and determine what you think those impressions are worth. But I do think that in terms of marketing this as a concept, what comes to mind for me is some sort of a video that shows what will happen if we don't do anything, right? Think about it from the reverse, right? We're trying to illustrate, we are really trying to call people to action to support this in some way, shape, or form. And I think it has nothing to do with the CRAC committee or any of the people on it. I think it has to do about selling. It has to do with selling a concept. And that concept is, do you support investing money in projects that are related to coastal resilience, whether it's adaptation or relocation or retreat, with the words that we have used in this group for many, many years now. But I think that in terms of who we bring on to produce the video, what we need to have is a clear set of ideas around what we think is going to be the strongest message. And if we can provide some sort of simulation of sea level rise and the impact on the island and what are the options, right, as we have defined them in the plan, then I think we have a way, or we could come up with a way of selling this idea. But talking about talking about who we are, or talking about, why this is important, we have 90 seconds basically to make an impression. And I think to be able to share some sort of simulation that shows how coastal resiliency is going to affect Nantucket and what can be done about it, we have to go for the most dramatic impact we can.
All right, thanks, Joanna. Go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, thanks. I think I really appreciate everybody's input. I am only presenting this because I was the de facto chair last time. So it's not like my video project. I don't mean to say it like that because I wrote the summary. I do think that some of the things that we're talking about can be ironed out once we have who we're working with. I just know from people that I've worked with we've worked with different companies through my job for different videos. Each person, each company has gone through, because they're experts in this arena, and takes that off of us. So I think a lot of the things that we're talking about, like where we're going to go, how long the video has to be, whether we can afford to do animation, or, a lot of different things are actually really helpful to start to talk about once we're actually working with someone. And I don't mean to put the cart before the horse, but I feel like some of that is yes, to have our very clear goals, but the people that know the most, what can you say? And 90 seconds is actually a really long time. If we're trying to set up a problem, show what's going on, for example, and some examples, you can set up the problem in 10 seconds by showing quick clips of erosion, sunny day flooding, and we don't even have to say anything and people see all this. So, so that's one thing. It's just some of the, I think to the point of the CRAC committee working on this, I don't think we're producing a video we are going to spend all this time doing it. I think for us, it's an opportunity to use this available funding to get part of our message across, and collaborating with the town. The Natural Resources Department allows us to do that without a heavy lift, right? We're going to be, talking about what the goals are, but I don't see it as we're producing this huge video. The other thing that I'll say, I just blanked on what my thought was. I sort of disagree with Joanna. I think that I disagree with that we should go for the most dramatic. I'm worried about fear mongering. I feel like there's a lot of that with coastal resiliency. And I think there's one of the things that was talked about a lot last time that really spoke to me was not that it's scary and in the future, it's happening right now and it's every day. So where are you vulnerable right now? And the flooding that you find annoying, like a lot of things that are annoying right now are actually coastal resiliency issues and we're dealing with, and it's only we can say it's only going to get worse or show it in some way. But I think if we start with the very dramatic, people are going to once again go, oh, that's like a future. Yeah, that's like later, and turn it off. And then the last point I'll make about this is I agree. I think we're all kind of on board with not making it totally about crack, but I do think it's important to say this, like, we're here for you in the sense, I mean, I don't think we should actually say that line, but that the Coastal Resiliency Advisory Committee is the town entity that is helping work on this and organizing, created the Coastal Resiliency Plan and things. I don't know the best way to produce that because I'm not a video person. But I think that having mention of crack is really important because I think, to Gary's point, we want, and I think Pete said this too, we want people to know that even when you're not seeing it, there's a town entity that's kind of working and thinking about it and working with the other town entities, So I think it is really important in some way, not to make it the highlight, but to make it an important piece that is like people know that the town is working on this. But those are my thoughts so far.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm going to say a little something before I go to Joanna and then ask Leah a question. So yes, we are not going to physically produce and do the work, but we are going to advise whoever gets hired, once we all agree what we want in the video. We're going to tell them this is how we want to say it. This is our message, but I think we'll have a better shot at doing that efficiently when that company is hired. But we got to get to the point where we're all in agreement. We want to do this. Now we need your advice. So Leah, at what point do we then put it out to bid? At what point do you want crack to be at for clarity and understanding of our message and what we're trying to say and what we're trying to do? And maybe that is through a mixture of animation. Maybe it has some elements of that. But whatever it is, at what point do we start that process?
So to answer that, remember, was it last year or 2 years ago when Crack applied for offshore wind grant to make a film? So I reached out to a couple of different production agencies and got quotes from them. The quotes are based on how long the video is going to be. So I think that's what you need to nail down before I can go get quotes. So for the finance part of this, I believe if it's under $10,000, then I need to get 3 quotes from 3 different production agencies. If it's over that, then it needs to go out to bid, which means that anyone can bid it. And we have to write a scope up and all of that stuff, and that takes a lot longer. So yeah, it's really based on time. And then from there, we can figure out which route to take to hire someone. But I agree with Sarah that those agencies, companies will help like really narrow down and focus on what the video is going to be and the messaging, with input from you all.
Okay, so we need the company's advice on how to do this. But if we're gonna keep it under 10,000, it's like we need their advice now, but we can't have it until we hire them and until we decide what we're gonna put in the video. And what if the video is more than 90 seconds? What if we determine it needs to be 210 or whatever? So we really have to refine what we want to say, and as close as we possibly can, and then bring that person on. So we really have to be focused. You want to say something else, Leah?
Yeah, just to give you a reference. So I believe for the offshore wind grant, you all said a 30-minute video, and that was going to be about like $30,000-ish. So you need to figure out, do you want it to be a long video? Do you want it to be 90 seconds, 15 minutes? Like, I think you just need to narrow it down on that. And then from there, that can help me when I reach out to the different companies.
Right off the bat, I think 90 seconds will be a little short. We might find that out. Depends on, again, you know, hearing from a production company that will know that's done this before. They'll be able to advise us if there was a way we could get someone on here to advise us before we hired them. That would really be helpful. If there was somebody in town that could do that, that would be helpful to us, because then that would help us know what we could have time for. Anyway, go ahead, Joanna, you're next.
Thanks. I just want to clarify, I'm not, I was not advocating for fear mongering. I was advocating for giving real life examples of the impact of coastal resiliency planning. Number one. Number two, what we need to do is write a creative brief. And if you hire any video production company, that's the place to start. You write a creative brief. And these things are not mutually exclusive. People who shoot videos shoot a large amount of footage and then they cut it down. So if we want to have a 5-minute educational video and a 90-second clip and some reels for Instagram, you put all that in the creative brief. So we can have all these things. We're not limited to one thing. So I think that what we need to build some consensus around is what is the message, right? Because I think we should ask for all the things. Right. And I think that we can get a bid that is less than $10,000. I think it would be onerous for us to try to do anything that would be over that amount of money.
So when you say a creative brief, you're basically just saying, we're going to write the story we're going to write a script. Or
No,
we're just going to say, this is what
No.
this is. No?
we're going to it's not a script, it's a guideline. And we're basically
Okay.
saying, we are this group and this is our mission. This is the end product that we'd like. Here are sort of the creative guardrails, right? And these are the deliverables. So if you Google creative brief, you can get some examples of it, right? This is a common thing that people give when they're hiring video production companies, and it saves a lot of time to provide this as opposed to trying to negotiate it after you hire them, right? So you want to give them an idea of the scope and the depth of the project, and you want to explain what you want the messaging to be, and then they can come in and give you some options.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Go ahead, Gary.
Thanks, Peter. Just a comment that, and I think we're on the same page, but I just thought maybe I'll mention it as well. Why are we doing all of this? What is the intent and what's the purpose of doing it? And to me, it seems to be pretty clear. The purpose of this is to educate the public, our public, and that's because we will need their support over the years. Every time we come up with these projects, we're going to have to go to town meeting, whether it's a betterment project or a special borrowing or something like that. And so the purpose of all of these videos is to show the needs that Nantucket is going to be having over the next 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And as part of that process, we will need to go back to the town meeting from time to time to be able to get the funding. This process is not to ask people that we have a problem and we need you to help us raise the ferry terminal or raise Washington Street. We're not asking them to do that. What we want them to do is to understand exactly what the needs of Nantucket are, be supportive of what we and the select board conclude are the next steps to take to deal with the ongoing issues. I just thought I'd put that into perspective as to the purpose of all of these videos or whatever we produce, to let the public understand where we're going and that we need their support along the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Go ahead, Christy.
Yeah, just from a slightly different perspective, I'm thinking about, when Capital Committee is funding coastal resiliency, we're funding sort of a, $1 million, funding which nothing's really attached, but when we're here in meeting, we look and we see, plans and grants and proposals and studies. I'm a firm believer that we will not capture the community until we have a hard structure project that's going to show financing, and that's when people really start talking about it. I just want to throw that out there as sort of an angle on how we look at this. You know, I think any sort of exposure is great. So that's, you know, whatever we decide, good start. But I do think that it's really not until we have, you know, a hard structure project where it's going to show the demands of financing. And then also, you know, we all know that, you know, there's what, 600 plus people that go to town meeting, and you know, who are we trying to reach? Are we trying to reach, you know, eventually we might have to reach the island for if something goes to a ballot, but we're also really trying to educate the people that take part in town government and actually vote on these type of things. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Christy. Hillary, go ahead.
I just wanted to say I agree with Gary's statement of the goals. We have to open minds, change opinions so that we can get stuff passed and get projects supported. And I think that's what Christy was saying too, but that, you know, at some point it's going to be really specific. I don't think the video should be really specific. The video should be all about accepting that our island is changing and that we have to get ahead of it, and that there are people, you know, that the town is going to be bringing projects forward for votes. Regarding the question you had, Peter, about like, can't we get some advice before we actually get a bid? I mean, I think there must be a lot of videos out there that other communities have made all up and down the East Coast, from, you know, Florida up to Maine. It would be great if someone had the time to put together some things for us to look at. You know, I'm sure a lot of us have seen the movie about the inundation district. If you haven't, it's really, really good. We're not producing something like this, you know, but maybe there are other examples. And if there could be like a view list that we could see before another meeting. We can also invite production companies that we like to come in and pitch us, and, you know, they could be invited to bid. So one way to get some advice ahead of the curve is to invite people to come in and give us their ideas and pitch us. So just a few ideas. Thanks.
Thanks, Hillary. Sarah?
Thanks, Pete. Yeah, I just real quick on what Hillary said, I really like that idea of showing like other videos maybe from other communities that could be similar, or like we could draw from. So if people find any that they like, I think that's a great thing to do. And then I really agree with what Joanna was saying about the creative brief. I feel like we've created those too. And I think in the absence of having the ability to have someone here to give us advice beforehand, I think a lot of us on this call have worked with video production on island for different reasons. And, you know, I don't want to mention specific companies on this kind of committee ahead of time, but I think that we can, you know, like Joanna said, we can do what we're talking about, like a 90-second video. That's Pete, 90 seconds is the long form now. So like, that is the longer version of a video, that not long form, but like for that dream landscape. And then multiple, potentially multiple like produced videos that can be used on social media for probably around $10,000. So I don't think it's out of the realm. I think if we wanted to do something bigger, you know, like, you know, a 30-minute video, to Leah's point, years ago when we put together that grant proposal, I say Leah put together the grant proposal. I mean, that was $30,000. So if like, I just feel like we have to temper our expectations for what we're able to put. We can't put everything in the kitchen sink into a video at this point. I think with those, as I like Joanna's guardrail, you said the word guardrails or term guardrails, with like knowing what amount of money we have to work with, and like putting together what this campaign, quote unquote, campaign is about. Like Gary's saying, we're laying the groundwork for future asks, right? We're educating the public to keep, so that they keep us in mind. They know we're working on things, so that when we come to them with like a town meeting vote, or, you know, I don't know, something, that they're like, oh, we know they're doing work, they're doing good work, they've been doing good work and trying to solve these issues for our community. Let's support them. So putting all that together, I think that like that creative brief that we can all, or a subcommittee of us or whatever, can approve. I'm seeing that as coming out as the maybe next steps, and jumping off from this conversation plus what we talked about last time, kind of putting together something that can be pushed forward. But I think if we have other outreach ideas or longer form video wishes, we can have like a wish list that's ongoing for other outreach opportunities, whether they're grants come up or we have other things. But I think we have to keep remembering we can't put every outreach that we ever want to do into one thing, if that makes sense. So, and the last thing I'll just say is we can, you know, just to move this forward, if we want to do, I know we talked last time about having some kind of subcommittee to work on things separately and then bring to the full group. I think this is one of those things that might make sense to have that for those interested in wanting to do some outreach.
Okay, say a couple of things before I go to Tim. Sarah, do you think you'd be willing to write a creative brief for us?
I can take a first stab at it, but I don't want to presume to like be the one to know what everyone thinks, but I'm happy to take a first stab and I will get it to the group. If everyone's okay with me taking a first stab at it, I could make sure it's to the group before our next meeting so that it can be edited and people can work on that. But
It'll be a-
but if someone else wants to do it too, I'm not opposed.
It maybe if we had someone else, then we would have different versions and we could come together on that, but it'll be a good first step. If everyone's in agreement with that. Leah, do I have to call for a vote?
When in doubt, vote.
Okay. Could someone make a motion to that effect, or I can make a motion? I make a motion that Sarah write a creative brief for what we may want in our video. And I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, Tim Brain seconded. All's in favor, roll call vote. Tim Brain,
Aye.
Sarah Boyce,
Hi.
Gary Beller,
Aye.
Liz Phelps,
Aye.
Jen Carberg,
Aye.
Christy Kickham, Doug Rose.
Aye.
Aye.
Joanna Roach.
Aye.
Peter, I'll
Hillary-
abstain.
Okay,
I don't know who said aye when I was called on.
okay. Hillary Hedges Rayport,
Aye.
Matt Fee.
Aye.
And before I go to Tim, I wanted to say that I agreed with Christy about having a project. This, as soon as we get one, and it'll have, of course, all the NRD media and hopefully the current and the Inky writing about it. I agree with that. But I think that when the video is created, it's not just going to show once. It's going to keep showing. It's going to reinforce things as we move along. It'll be, reaching everybody, hopefully. So that was my hybrid, I guess. Go ahead, Tim.
Well, first of all, I think the length of the video it ought to depend on the venue where it's going to show. And so we should look at that and see if the ferries are going to take it. If they were going to charge us, how, and how long they would want it. I mean, it's partly where it's going to show determines what the length is. Also, it's possible to create a video that can be updated as if it's going to be project oriented, which I think it should be. It can be updated over time as things change and progress. So as far as picking video companies to do it, I think you start with looking at the work they do and see which ones you like, and see if they do things in a style and a clarity that we want. The other thing I wanted to add to what Gary said and Hillary said is, I do think we're trying to get people to understand this is something that the island needs to do and that we want them to support it. But I also think there's an element of reassuring people that we're on top of it. You know, people in the real estate business are nervous about this. They don't want to talk about it. They're worried it's going to affect property values. And I think part of what we can do is sort of reassure everybody, yes, this is a problem. And yes, the town's on top of it. It's solvable. And we're actually making progress already. I think that's sort of the reassurance message is part of the message. And to be fair, there's going to be a lot of subtle messages in this thing. And we're not going to solve it all in a meeting, but I think that's part of it. So anyway, and by the way, Sarah, I'm happy to help you if you want it with the creative brief.
Yes, I agree with you, Tim, reassurance. And I forgot to say thank you, Sarah, for agreeing to do this. And also thank you for running the meeting when I wasn't here. And go ahead, Leah.
Thanks, Peter. I just want to remind people, if you want to go down the subcommittee route, you have to do minutes, post it, all of that stuff. So we've talked about this years ago and decided not to do it because it's a lot of extra work. So I think to alleviate that, Sarah, if you write it and you want to send it to Tim and he, adds to it, and then we add it to the packet and have a discussion, that we could do it that way. And then as far as looking at the different companies, on island, or if there's some off island, I think it would be helpful if someone from the committee compiled that information and maybe some, examples of videos or something like that, so that the committee can watch them before our next meeting, to have a little bit more informed decision, so that when I go out to, ask for quotes or estimates or whatever, I know which companies you all want to work with. Thanks.
So thanks, Leah. So I'll go to Christy in a minute. Hillary, would you be willing to look around for?
Yeah, I was actually just going to volunteer. I just, while we were talking, just put in, inspirational videos under 2 minutes that have been award winning and have changed people's mind into ChatGPT, and it gave me like 15 videos. And I think we should look at all different topics, because we're talking about changing people's mind, raising awareness about, having a new, it's something about attitude. And then we can append to that, specific calls to action, depending on what project we have. So yeah, I'd be happy to do it. I would ask if Joanna might work with me, because Joanna, maybe you and I could, you're shaking your head. Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe you and I could look at some videos and, okay, thanks.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Joanna, and thanks, Hillary. Go ahead, Christy.
Yeah, very brief. Just to Tim's point, if you count out, say, 90 seconds, it's quite a while. I just think that, I'm thinking specifically, say, the Dreamland, really short and concise would be the way to go. I'm thinking about the length of it. And to Tim's point, definitely, where you decide to show it will have a factor on, what, proper length would be.
Okay, I don't see any. Oh, go ahead, Liz.
Sorry, I don't see my hand icon, but I just wanted to add to that a little bit that I agree. Obviously, it depends on the outlet that you're looking to show the video, but I don't know if maybe there's a potential to make it a longer video and then just tailor it, cut it a little bit shorter for different outlets, so that you can maybe show the longer one on the website. And then, obviously it's going to cost money also. I think for some of these, we have to take that into consideration, how much the outlet is going to charge. So I think it would be great if we could explore an option to make it longer and more informative for like a website, and a little bit shorter for like the Dreamland or something, with maybe a link to where you could get more information.
Yeah, I agree with that. Social media one as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't see any more hands. I also see that it's 10:55 and you have a few more items on the agenda. So unless there's anything else, I want to move on. also want to offer up public comment, although I don't see any members of the public, but I'm just going to make sure I don't hear anything. So thanks, Sarah, for helping us with the creative brief, and thanks to Joanna and Hillary for searching the videos for us. Great discussion. Okay, so discussion and approval for September being Climate Change Awareness Month. We're gonna, well, Leah, do you want to explain it?
Sure, I can start and then you can jump in. So I think this would be the maybe 6th year in a row that CRAC and in the past Acclimate has proclaimed September as Climate Change Awareness Month. This year, maybe I'll pull up the proclamation, I'll share it. So generally it looks like this, and CRAC approves it, and then it goes to the select board and they make an announcement, usually their first meeting in September, that September's Climate Change Awareness Month. So this year Acclimate does not want to collaborate with the town on this. So we can, change this up if we want to. We'd obviously remove their logo and their name in here. But seeing two things, if the committee wants to continue this as for the 5th or 6th year, and then secondly, if there are other, bullet points in here that we want to add. So I'll just scroll down so that you can see what it looks like. So the chair of the select board would sign it. And then I'd like to add on this page, if there are specific events that are happening, like I know a lot of the organizations do, like specific walks, or like I'm doing a kayak tour for coastal resiliency in September. So to add those things on the 2nd page, or maybe the 1st page. Do you want to add anything, Peter?
Do we need to add anything now, or do we have till our next meeting on the 26th, or are we meeting on the 26th?
No, you're not meeting on the 26th. This is the only meeting of August.
Okay. I don't have anything I want to add. Does anyone else want to add anything?
Aren't we surprised that Acclimate no longer wants to support this effort? What, are they afraid that the White House is going to decide they're un-American if they talk about climate change? I'm surprised Acclimate is not in favor of this.
Yeah, that was my question as well, Gary.
I don't know what to say to that. I don't know why they don't want to support it, but I think that that it shouldn't just fall. I think that we should keep it going. Maybe they'll join us next year. But I think it's important that we keep this up and keep the awareness up. I hope you guys all agree with me. And maybe we can get an explanation from them about why they didn't want to join us, maybe for the next meeting. So does anybody, what?
Peter, what we should do is to say approve it if it's going to have to be done before the next meeting. But after approving it, we ought to give you authority, or Leah, to walk through it and take out the appropriate references, and make sure that by taking out the references to Acclimate, the rest of the paragraph completely agrees with what we are doing and what we stand for.
What do you think of that, Leah?
Yep, I would recommend that too.
Okay, I'll go with that.
I'll move it as a motion.
And there are a bunch of people with their hands up. I don't know.
Okay, I can't see. I cannot. Wait a minute.
If you go to the view, you can change it
go.
to gallery side by side.
Okay, go ahead, Matt.
No, I'll second that for Gary. My only question was, we should find out why they are. If Leah, do you know why they're not supporting this year? And if not, we should find out. just for informational. Thank you.
Go ahead, Leah.
Matt, there were some emails back and forth and they had posted some stuff on social media that was not accurate on behalf of the town. So for whatever reason, they've decided not to collaborate on like this particular proclamation. And that's all the information I know.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Jen.
Thanks, Pete. I mean, I put my hand up because I wanted to say I think it's really important for us to keep this proclamation going and to keep September recognized as Climate Change Awareness Month. And I think coming from us, from the Coast Resilience Advisory Committee, through the town, I think that's really important. I do think and I don't have anything, official, but I have heard that Acclimate is kind of moving towards us being the voice for these kinds of issues. So that's not anything speaking to why they're not involved in this, but I think perhaps their role is shifting and changing. But I think regardless, this is up to us to continue to support and advocate for. And there are a lot of then other organizations that have built their September calendars around promoting climate change awareness. So I think us just being the voice to push this up to the select board and kind of make it more widely known seems like a reasonable thing for us to do.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say something similar about like, I think we should definitely still support it. Regardless, I don't think it's a vote, like Acclimate pulling out isn't a vote against it. It's more just like not wanting to necessarily be a named partner is my assumption. And then I just had a question for like logistic wise, because we can, I want to second Gary's like moving forward with this with edits. Do you want us to send you all the things that we have going on from our various organizations that month? Or do you want it to be like you want like a list of activities, because we can send those?
Can I answer that, Peter?
Sure.
Yes, that would be very helpful if each organization could send me a list of the activities so I could put those on the second page, and then a link to maybe like the calendar or where to sign up or something like that. And that would be helpful if you could get it to, I'll send out an email, but I'd say like within the week so that I can get this to the select board to make sure it's on their first meeting agenda.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Are we ready to vote? Yes? Okay. Smiles and thumbs up means yes. Okay. Sarah Boyce,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Gary Beller,
Aye.
Jennifer Carberg,
Aye.
Christy Kickham,
Yes.
Joanna Roach,
Aye.
Hillary Hedges Rayport,
Aye.
Doug Rose,
Aye.
Liz Phelps,
Aye.
Matt Fee.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Oh, wait, public comment? No public. Okay. So presentation on status of Coastal Resilience Plan recommendations by Leah Hill, Town of Nantucket Coastal Resilience Coordinator. Okay, go
All
ahead,
right,
Leah.
thanks, Peter. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, can you all see that?
Yes,
Is it in presentation view?
yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so today I'm going to give an update about the 40 recommendations within the Coastal Resilience Plan, and then time pending, we can start the discussion for reprioritization of last year's list. I'll take questions at the end, please. Okay, so this is a table that you can find at the very end of the Coastal Resilience Plan, page 250. And it breaks down each recommendation by the strategy number, the priority. So first, number 1 is navy, 2 is blue, and 3 is green. And then it has the strategy, project title, the brief description, the type of it. So is it nature based? Is it structural? Is it non-structural? The cost estimates, the benefits, target implementation year, which is also in flux. And then there's like a whole nother page that has the champions, the co-champions, permitting, et cetera, et cetera. So if you haven't seen this, I definitely recommend going to page 250. Okay, so the first one is the community outreach, property owner resilience best practices. So that is underway, and it has been underway for years. Oh, hold on, back up for the key. So if it has this little paper, that means that it's in development. So that would mean like we're, really thinking about starting that project. There's maybe the scope is being developed or the scope is finished, but it just hasn't like gone through the rest of the steps. The circle with the arrow means that it's underway. So that means that, the scope is written, it's out to bid. We've hired consultants and that project has kicked off. And then the check mark means that it's complete. So it's either obviously finished or it's ongoing, because some of these are, yes, we started it, but it's a monitoring thing. So we're going to be doing that for years. Okay, so 1-1 is underway. That is by you guys, also by me as well, with social media posts, all the brochures we've done. I've done lots of homeowner association, civic association presentations. 1-2 updates to zoning bylaw. So that's underway. We've created that internal work group to look at the zoning bylaws to see how to incorporate coastal resiliency within it, and limit those investments in the high risk areas. We're going to be having another internal work group meeting in mid-September. Updates to wetland ordinance and regulation. So that's with the Concom, and that was completed and went into effect on January 1st of this year. The strategic retreat and relocation program, that is underway. That is out to bid right now and closes, I believe, in a week. The Coastal Resilience and Sustainability Interdepartmental Work Group, that is ongoing. So we meet generally once a month, and it's a bunch of different town departments to talk about this and discuss the different coastal resilience projects or sustainability projects across the town. Joint staff review of development proposals. So that is what we do also within that resilience and sustainability interdepartmental work group. The Coastal Resilience and Sustainability Program, that is ongoing. That's Vince and I within the Natural Resources Department. The Shoreline Change Monitoring Program, that's ongoing. That started in 2022, and that's the different stations around the island where I go and monitor erosion on a local level. The Sediment Sourcing and Transport Study, that is underway. And I believe that is, I've got to ask Vince, but I believe that's finishing up either this winter or in the spring. Stormwater Management Plan. So I'm going to do the Stormwater Management Plan, the Stormwater Bylaw Assessment, the Stormwater Bylaw and Regulation Update kind of all together. Charles Johnson, who's our Stormwater Manager, couldn't be here today, but he did send me an email with an update. So I'm just going to read that to you guys. So the Stormwater Regulations, that established a Stormwater Enterprise Fund, which will be funded through billing based on the percentage of non-impervious surfaces on a piece of property. It's been written with assistance by Hazen and Sawyer, and they helped write the sewer regulations about 5 years ago. There will be 2 districts, one downtown where most of the stormwater infrastructure is located, and one outside of downtown area where most of the infrastructure is not as intensely developed. The enterprise funding is something that has become more widespread throughout the state. and will have a very modest cost for residential lots, which may not exceed $100 per year, which will be billed with water and sewer billing. A draft version of the regulations has been presented to town administration and the water company, and a more formal presentation by the sewer department with Hazen and Sawyer is gonna undergo with the also other departments, the department heads, and then ultimately the select board in mid-September. As far as the stormwater management plan, that is that has not happened at all. And Charles thinks that a discussion with town administration on how to address stormwater pumping requirements recommended by several studies, so the Easy Street Project, Washington Street Resilience, and then his green infrastructure stormwater feasibility study, because he believes that resilience, flooding, water quality issues is now needed. He thinks it should be a bigger picture look at the entire downtown area instead of the isolated areas of individual flood zones, to look at prioritizing flood zones and finding locations where stormwater can be pumped to, treated, or discharged to waters within or outside Nantucket Harbor. His department has, I guess, funding allocated for like specific studies, but there's no funding for the entire, stormwater management plan for the island. They are going to a capital meeting this Wednesday, so they'll find out a little bit more if they can put in funding for that. But he suggests that CRAC, along with the sewer department, requests that town administration authorize a stormwater management plan and study so that those recommendations can be worked on. Okay, and then the sediment budget that is that needs to happen after the dredge plan. Updating locally adopted sea level rise scenarios and best available flood hazard data, that is ongoing, and that will get updated as the NOAA sea level rise scenarios get updated as well. And generally that's like every 5 years or so. All right, moving to the downtown area. The Steamboat Wharf resilience, nothing has happened there, although the Steamship Authority is and has been thinking about resiliency on their property. Again, I'm in close contact with them and have met with them every couple months to talk about this and talk about the Easy Street project. The downtown neighborhood flood barrier, the later phase project. So basically everything else other than the Easy Street area. That is not happening yet. That target implementation date is 2050. Easton Street and Hulbert Avenue road raising, nothing is happening there yet. Again, target implementation year 2050. Washington Street extension and Consu Springs walkway raising, nothing has happened there. Again, implementation's 2050. Building scale resilience at 37 Washington Street. I did write a grant, an offshore wind grant, to start this project, but it was not awarded. And so nothing has happened there. There is kind of like a lot of questions about that building, and is the finance department going to move? Are they going to stay there? Is a different department going to move in there if they move out? So that's in flux. And then the downtown neighborhood flood barrier phase 1 project that is underway. That's the Easy Street flood mitigation project. And where we are in that project, our grant just finished in this June. And so we have funding from town meeting to move that project to full design and permitting. There has not been a concept design that has been chosen yet. So we are going to be doing a lot more like data collection on groundwater table rise in the area and projections for that into the future, some traffic studies, intersection studies, more visuals that will help the public visualize this transformative project and what it may look like based on the 3 different design options. So we're just gathering more data to help make an informed decision on which design should move forward to the full design, permitting, and then ultimately construction. Moving to Mattakit, the Mattakit Road Raising and Bridge Conversion. So that's in development. I did apply for a tribal and rural transportation grant back in, let's see, when was that? Back in the winter. And then with the current presidential administration, that was pulled. But I just did get some good news that that grant program is up and going. And so I'll resubmit that grant. And actually the awards are for more money, so that's good. So that opens up on September 8th. So I'll be working on tweaking that grant narrative so that it can fit the new one. I also have this in for a capital request. And so we'll see if that makes it through the different organization or the different committees and ultimately to town meeting. That is to elevate, well, we'll see what it is, but in the CRP, the concept is to elevate the portions of Mattakit Road that are most vulnerable. So basically after the DPW to about, I think it's like 198 Mattakit Road, just past the bridges, and then look at the bridges, look at the culverts and see if they should be converted to bridges or larger culverts. Ames Avenue Bridge Resilience, so that's underway. That is to maintain the bridge access to Smiths Point and continue the maintenance and monitoring of the existing bridge. So that bridge is looked at by 3 different organizations, so Mass DEP, and then I cannot remember the other 2, to see you know, how that bridge is doing and the life of it. All 3 of them said at minimum it has a life expectancy of 20 more years. So that's good. The town's also working with retreating the intersection at the end of Mattakit Road where that meets Ames Avenue, retreating that back so that we can try to buy some more time and maintain access to the Smiths Point neighborhood. The F Street boat ramp, nothing is going on there. That target implementation year is 2050. Mattakit Erosion Management Pilot and Ames Avenue Bridge Protection. So that kind of goes in with the 3.2 years ago. NRD, Mattakit Conservation Association, NCF, and I'm sorry if I'm forgetting other organizations. They all joined together and we did a lot of plantings where the overwash was at Millie's Bridge. And if you go out there now, the elevation of that dune is significantly higher and the grasses are really taking hold. So that's great. The Department of Public Works Facility and Landfill Resilience. So that's still in development. That failed at town meeting a couple of times. But, you know, ultimately they're going to have to move because of the coastal risks in the area. All right, Nantucket Harbor and Co2 area. The Pulpus Road Raising and Bridge Conversion at Folgers Marsh, that's still in development. The Pulpus Road Raising Culvert Expansion, Wave Attenuation at Sacajah Pond. So part of that is underway, the wave attenuation part. I'm the project manager for this, and we're working with Mass Audubon to kind of create an interim roadway protection resilient strategy that can be adaptable to when the CRP recommendation is underway. And so that project consists of within the pond putting reef balls, which are concrete eco-friendly structures that offer habitat to fish and also oysters. So it's like a living breakwater. And the modeling has shown that it will attenuate waves by 90%. And then landward of that, we'd like to create a living shoreline. So if you go out there, it's if it's not underwater, there's just like a very thin strip of beach and not much vegetation. So the living shoreline would connect the vegetation on either side of that concrete wall and create more habitat. And then that concrete wall will be removed and probably replaced with sheet pile because there's not a lot of room within that between the roadway and the pond. So we need something that has a small footprint. Jen, do you want to give an update on the Code 2 erosion management and dune resilience?
Sure, absolutely, Leah.
Thanks.
Most of the work out on the refuge has been focused on the partnership with the trustees, which really focuses more on Coscata Pond and the haulover and those breaching areas. And we did a public meeting probably 2 months ago now, to show the 30% nature-based designs that we're working on there. So that's moving ahead as we apply for funding for the next steps of those resiliency interventions, which are expensive as they are for all these projects. On the rest of Code 2, the foundation has been doing long-term kind of elevational monitoring or monitoring elevation and dune profiles at most of the points that are out there, the points and the bends actually along Code 2 to look at change and identify the lowest lying areas. Really at this point, we're just looking at some issues with our current sand roadways and looking at some fairly easy fixes to capture sand and build up sand. What we've discovered and what a lot of our consultant work out on the other end of the refuge is that there really is a lot of sand that's moving around across Code 2. So it's just figuring out some easy ways to capture and hold that sand into place that will help with those restoration pieces. So we're moving ahead with looking at some of those, particularly at Second Bend seems to be the least or the potentially most impacted to flooding washover. So that's currently in the works.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen.
Yep.
So moving on to the numerical modeling study of the Code 2 breaching. So Jen, Cynthia, and I have been in contact about this just recently, and I did get an estimate, I think it was last year around this time for it, and it's actually a lot higher than what is estimated within the CRP. It's more like $300,000 up to $800,000, depending on how many breach points you want to add into it. So I think probably the next step is to get a couple more quotes and really nail down that scope of work, and then based on that, see where we can get funding to fund it. Okay, so moving on to Sconset, the Sconset Bluff Dune restoration. Nothing has happened there, or the Codfish Park Dune restoration. The Baxter Road relocation planning, so that is at 100% design for the alternative access, and it will be moving on to permitting next. And then that won't be implemented until specific triggers are met that compromise the safety of the road and the public. The Sconset Bluff Nearshore Breakwaters feasibility study. So that was actually kind of wrapped into the Baxter Road long-term planning feasibility study. And in that, just for the area about 1,000 feet in front of where the geotubes are located, just for that one area, it was estimated to cost $100 million. So if you expand that, the length of Sconset, that is a ton of money. And so it really just does not meet that cost benefit analysis. And then it also wouldn't, there would be certain storms and storm directions that it would not work. So, so that's off the table for now. Moving on to the South Shore, the Nantucket Memorial Airport dune restoration. Nothing has happened there. The last time when I did speak to the airport commissioner, he said that they probably will not do some sort of dune restoration there because how it's so dynamic. But they do have property on, I believe, like the northern side to be able to shift the runway or extend it in one direction if they should lose any on the south. The Surfside wastewater treatment plant dune restoration, so that's in development. I applied for a coastal zone management grant to start this project and start conceptual designs for this area. Just to remind you, about two winters ago, there were a lot of storms out of the south, and we had to close 3 of those beds that were closest to the water and fill in one of them because the salt water was getting very, very close to inundating it. The Tom Nevers Field Erosion Mitigation Pilot Project. Oh, I should say too, for the Surfside Wastewater Treatment Plant recommendation, I also put that in for a capital request as well for this year. Tom Nevers Field Erosion Mitigation Pilot Project. So right now, there's no erosion mitigation strategy for it. For phase 1, it's permits to get onto the beach to actually remove all of the debris and to cut and remove what's sticking out of the bluff face right now. There's no excavation within the bluff. They are going to install a ramp on the west side so that vehicles can remove and clean up all of the debris that's on the beach. Phase 2 would go in for capital to excavate and excavate the bluff and get all of the stuff out of there, and then potentially add in the erosion mitigation to that. So that's kind of in flux right now. The first step is to remove all the debris from the beach. The Surfside Emergency Access Planning, I put that in too for the offshore wind grant, and that did not get accepted. So as of right now, we have not moved forward with that recommendation. And then the Sheep Pond Road relocation study. So, I mean, the study is done. And there's that phase right now is in final permitting with construction, hopefully in the fall for that road relocation. And then the last one, the North Shore. So there's the North Shore Dune Restoration and Nourishment and the sand pumping feasibility study, and neither of those have been underway. So to date, 26 out of the 40 recommendations are either in development, underway, complete, or ongoing since the plan was endorsed in early 2022. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen in case there's specific questions, just so I can see you all. Let's see, stop sharing.
Okay, who was first? Gary or Doug? Go ahead, Gary.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks, Leah. My comments are, the first thing, I think that when you look at that first page and you see all of the stormwater management issues, nothing is being done. And what I think we should do is, and maybe you tried to do it for this meeting, is to invite Charlie Johnson to our meeting to see him, let him make a presentation, let him make a recommendation to us, so then we can in turn make a recommendation to the select board to get that moving. That's my first comment. My second comment is, as I was looking at each one of these priorities and going through one after the other, I kept saying to myself, okay, so Gary, now which one? So if we're going to make a 90, based on what I suggested earlier at this meeting, if we had some projects that were in development or completed, maybe that ought to be the subject of these 90-minute clips. And unfortunately, as we went through what is underway or what's been completed, I didn't see any sexy ones that strike me as being something that we really want to use to get the public excited about all the progress we're making. So that's just my comment on that. Thanks.
I don't know, Gary. I think that raising the road and putting proper bridges in at first and second bridge is pretty sexy. I'm getting excited already. And I think it's a highly visible. It'll be a highly visible project. It'll stop traffic for long periods of time. People will be sitting there going, what the hell is going on? And then there'll be some sort of information posts along the way telling people what's going on. I think it's incredibly hot. But that's just me.
If we were able to show the road going up, but I think we're far from that point in the process.
I agree. It's the speed of government, and of course the public is moving 90 miles an hour and they want to see results right away. Otherwise, why do we believe in you? But hopefully the video helps us do that, and maybe in the video we mentioned some of those upcoming projects so that people know that it's coming. We're just asking everybody to believe, because the alternative is we're underwater. So go ahead, Leah.
Yeah, I just want to answer Gary's comment. So for the stormwater section, 2 of them are underway. The stormwater regulations, that's what I guess they're in draft form right now, and they're going to be presented to the department heads and then ultimately the select board. So that's underway. What is not underway is the island-wide stormwater management plan. And that's what I had asked if Charles was available to come today, but he wasn't. But he said he'd be happy to come to the next meeting to discuss that more. And he's the one that recommended that CRAC recommend that to the select board for funding to move that forward. It's in at least all of the resilience projects that I'm managing. It's a big kind of piece of the puzzle that we don't have a lot of information about and need to have a plan so that everything is tied together and cohesive. So just wanted to update about that.
All right, thanks, Leah. Go ahead, Hillary.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I also wanted to echo that. I actually think there's a lot happening with stormwater. Just the fact that we're going to have this, excuse me, this enterprise fund is pretty remarkable, because that will give additional resources and objectives to work against. One thing on stormwater is it ties in a lot to harbor quality. And we might end up finding that we are that we're marrying our, that we're really grateful to be part of natural resources, because we're marrying our stormwater management to water quality goals. And we might want to keep an eye on the Department of Environmental Protection's watershed management program and changes to the IA septic. And that might end up being a lever that we can use on some of these zoning issues with the relocation and retreat. So sorry, a little bit of an aside comment to the goals from the CRP, but sometimes the objectives of an adjacent initiative can really help us with resiliency. So I wanted to mention that as something to keep an eye on. I had one question. There's one really big area downtown that absolutely must and will be rezoned and is currently undeveloped. Does everybody know what area I'm talking about? It's the National Grid site that is right behind the Stop and Shop. And I just wondered, Leah, why isn't alternatives for how do alternatives for that area where it's going to be a little bit up for grabs potentially? Why isn't that in the plan? Is it just geographically not important, or?
Go ahead, Leah.
So, Hillary, this plan is for town infrastructure, and the town doesn't own that property. So,
but we're also talking
basically
about rezoning, right? Oh, okay. So
so updating the zoning bylaw, that is a recommendation within the coastal resilience plan, but it doesn't go specifically into which section should be zoned. That's what planning and the planning board
Okay.
would work, help work
Okay.
with. So Plus is really the champion for this recommendation. Like, it's not my responsibility to manage every single of these
Right.
40
Oh, no,
recommendations.
not putting it on
So that's really on zoning.
Okay, so as the planning board representative, I just wanted everybody to know that last night's planning board meeting, when we got to the end of our extremely long meeting and we started talking about ATM issues, warrant issues, there is on that list technical changes for coastal resiliency, let's see, updates to 139-12 and other changes to align with federal and state regulations. So that's on our list for the planning board to put articles on the warrant for town meeting. And in that conversation, I brought up the question of the rezoning and just the whole community vision for what we want to have happen, what Nantucket wants to have happen at that large undeveloped parcel that's right near the ferry and near the NERDA. And I think that this committee has a big opportunity to advise on what they would like to see from a resiliency perspective, including stormwater management. And so I know the goals of the CRP are what they are, but it seems like this could be something of interest related to like ongoing goals.
Right, thank you, Hillary. Go ahead, Doug, and then I'll go to Tim.
Thanks, Peter. Well, just to state the obvious, not a question, a comment. I am listening to Leah go through these 40 projects. I'm once again struck by her mastery of such a breadth and depth of projects, and I'm very grateful. I know everybody on CRAC is very grateful to have Leah's great skills at work here. So yes, I'm trying to make you blush, Leah. Great work. I did have a couple of questions. I think they're more, I could probably ask you offline, but since I have you, one is the mention of wave attenuation at Sacajah Pond caught my ear. Sounds really exciting. I'm not even sure. I have to Google what attenuation means, but I'm guessing it means somehow reducing wave energy. And that you're okay. Thank you. And you're seeing, I guess, through modeling or some other way, you're seeing a 90% decrease in wave energy. I think that's a wow for me. That caught my ear, and I'm just wondering if you can imagine that same strategy being deployed in other high wave energy in parts of the island. That would be one question for you, I guess. Peter, if you don't mind. Thanks.
Yeah, go ahead, answer that, Leah, and then we'll go to Tim.
Yeah, sure. So yes, they're great for, it depends on the dynamic. Like on the South Shore, they would not work, but within the harbor, the North Shore, they would, they would be feasible there.
Thank you. I have others, but I'll send you a note. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, this is a question for Leah about the Easy Street project. I know we saw the 3 different proposals. We discussed a little bit about how they interface with the other private properties there. And I know that it's not the CRP's mission to deal with the private properties, but I also know you've had conversations with them. And I guess my question is, when are we going to learn about that, the interface between the private properties and the proposed town, raising of the road, whichever version it is? Because it seems to me, and I meant to say this last time we discussed it, we've discussed it a lot. It seems to me that without knowing how the interface is, what the interface is with those private properties, we don't really know anything. So I'm curious, what happens with that? How does that proceed? When does this become public, a public discussion?
Yeah, great question. So with the kind of updated scope that I'm working on right now with Arcadis is to incorporate additional modeling to see, are there adverse or even beneficial impacts to private property owners that are adjacent or, abutting within this project area. So that's one thing. And then we also want to, so the resilient Nantucket, like building with, I forget the name is so long, building with historic structures in mind, or something to that degree, is to update that piece for the project area. So historic buildings within the project area that, maybe aren't elevated yet, what that would look like and steps that those private property owners would take. So right now, the town doesn't have jurisdiction to say, like, you need to raise your home right now. That is federal. That's if you update your home and that costs more than what the appraised value is. Or on the other hand, if that home is significantly damaged to the amount that it's worth, then you have to elevate that. So it's in short answer, it's in the works. And when I have more information, then I'm happy to share that.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Leah, are we to rearrange the priority list now?
Peter, since it's 11:41, I would suggest that we move that to the next meeting, because usually that's a long conversation. So if so, then the committee can make a motion to do that.
Okay, what do we all think? 18 minutes till lunch. What should we do? Do we need to do a vote, Leah?
When in
Or
doubt,
just-
vote. Or just
No,
do I don't know. It's up to you. You're the
we don't need to vote. We all want to move it to the next meeting, correct? We all want more time to think about it? Okay, I trust everybody.
Peter, I had one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to be clear on what we're going to be discussing. I think in the past, what we've done is ranked those projects that have yet to commence, right? And with the eye to being, okay, we've got all these other things in flight. What do we want to put on the runway next as a top priority? So as an example, my favorite personal pet project, the relocation and retreat strategy, is now on the runway, right? It's gotten put out to bid, and we're going to hopefully see some bids coming in fairly soon on that. So I imagine that would not make this list because now it's in flight. Am I understanding it correctly? I'm seeing Leah nodding. Is that how you understand it, Peter?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a
Second.
second from Hillary? Okay. All is in favor by roll call vote. Tim Brain,
Aye.
Sarah Boyce,
Aye.
Gary Beller,
Aye.
Doug Rose.
Aye.
Jen Carberg,
Aye.
Hillary Hedges Rayport,
Aye.
Joanna Roach,
Aye.
Liz Phelps,
Aye.
Matt T.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, thanks, everybody. All right. Okay, new business committee and natural resources department reports from planning board, conservation commission, harbor and shellfish advisory board, select board, advisory committee of non-voting taxpayers and other committee members. Do we have any reports? Okay. Did you want to say something, Leah?
Yes, I have a couple things. So there is a draft Nantucket Madaket Harbor Plan Action Plan update this Thursday, August 14th from 5 to 7 at the community room at Fort Fairgrounds. And then switching gears, so there's a number of you, Tim, Peter, Jen, Christy, and Gary, whose terms expire this year. So you don't need to get resworn in. I found that out. But what I do need to know is the committee that you're representing, have they voted for you to continue on to CRAC? And Tim, I know you're all set. I talked to Will.
Right.
But Peter, Christy's not here anymore, and Gary, if you guys can let me know via email, if you are continuing on for 2026. And then, Jen, I know you're on until December, maybe?
Let's
that
say
correct?
December for now, and then if NCF hires someone and we transition earlier, I'll let you know.
Okay, great. So, yeah, Peter, Christy, and Gary, if you can let me know. That'd be great. And then I just want to give a quick update. So I gave 2 presentations, one to the Mattakit Conservation Association annual meeting, and last week another one to the Scottsett Civic Association annual meeting. They went very well. There was probably 100 attendees per meeting, and I focused obviously on coastal resiliency. So the Mattakit one, I think we were there for over 2 hours, presenting and discussing with the community there, talking about, the intersection retreat and access to Smith's Point, and then the pilot project out there using the cliff stabilizers. So that was great. And then the Scottsett one was island wide. Carol Greenberg, the president, wanted me to discuss the ongoing projects. So I talked about the Easy Street Flood Mitigation Project, the Francis Street Beach Improvement Project, which the town is collaborating with the Land Bank and Remain on, and then the pilot project as well. And then focused it on Scottsett. I did not focus anything on geotubes. If questions came up, Vince was there to speak to people after the fact. And got a lot of feedback. So Carol said that people really, was easy to digest, and were appreciative of it. So that was great. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Leah. Gary?
Thanks, Peter. Just a couple of comments. First, I'm just curious, do my colleagues here, are you all happy with the word using crack, which everyone knows is cocaine in the outside world, for our committee? Or do you think it's worthwhile to talk about possibly adopting another name that is not so likely to be recognized incorrectly? You're happy with that? That's fine. That was just one comment. Second comment, a little frustration. I mentioned this to actually Libby Gibson, but without much effect when she appeared before the advisory committee. I was in reading what's going on in other states, including New Jersey, which is like us, a coastal state. New Jersey has just passed enacted a mansion tax. And what intrigued me about the mansion tax was that it was a tax on the sale of property starting at $1 million and $2 million and $3 million. And it actually has a level so that homes that sell, or land property that exchanges for $3.5 million or more, pays a 3.5% tax. The benefits of which are for affordable housing and coastal resilience, among other things, mostly. And I said, gee, that would be great. We do have our land bank fee, but that's only 2%. And I know that the bill we've been trying to pass with the state legislature is only a piddling 0.5%. Here's New Jersey charging 3.5% for the mansion tax. And as I said to Libby when I asked her this question last month, I'm sure that whatever tax we put in is in no way going to affect the values that the high properties are selling for on the island. She agreed with that, but that was about all she agreed with in my suggestion. And knowing the Massachusetts legislature, I'm sad to say that I'm sure we have very little chance, or no chance of even suggesting that, even since we can't even get the 0.5% done, even though it would be for affordable housing and coastal resilience, 2 of our very important priorities, but I thought I'd just mention it. Not that I think it's likely to happen. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Gary. Go ahead, Tim.
Just to respond to your crack question, I'm a little torn. I agree. It's sort of calling it crack seems to be just a distraction when you get into conversations with people. But on the other hand, it's memorable, and having a last name Brain, I can tell you that's important. So I'm torn. I don't really know what to say about it, but I think it's worth talking about. So.
And I want to say that I agree with Tim having a last name Brace. And I think we're way down the road to change the name. And I think when people say crack, really, and then you get a chance to explain and talk, and there's no K on the end of it. So I think we're good. And they go, anyway, Gary has a smile on his face, so that's good. He's not going to be offended if he doesn't get it. So go ahead, Matt.
The name is my fault. I'm sorry. When we had at the select board meeting, when they said it's a Coastal Resiliency Advisory Committee, I joked, "Oh, we'll be on crack," and then that's when it started, and I'm sorry. So it was meant lighthearted, Gary. It wasn't. We're not smoking crack and then going on here, I hope. So
Not this morning, anyway.
You owe us free sandwiches for the next year, Matt. That's all right.
Crack cookies.
Okay, Jen.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. I just wanted to give an update and let people know that Linda Loring and the Conservation Foundation are hosting the Climate Change Summit again this year. This is our third year of a super successful event that Sarah and I have curated. So we're really excited to be able to put it on again this year. Registration is live for it right now, or went live yesterday. Yesterday was Monday. Yep. It's free to attend. We just ask people to register as we're keeping a head count and for communications. So please register if you want to come. It's September 10th at Great Harbor Yacht Club in the evening. You can find all that information on both of our social medias and websites, and you can find the registration link there. And Sarah and I are giving an update to what the state of climate change is on Nantucket and, some of the interventions and just progress on that status. And then we're bringing in a speaker for the first time that we're really excited about. Bernadette Woods Plackey. She's a chief meteorologist and VP with Climate Central. And she's a meteorologist and does weather, but she also does public communication about climate change and impacts. So it'll be a really interesting kind of mix of talking about local impacts with climate change, with change in communities, what weather does to communities. So it should be really interesting. So hopefully everyone can make it, and then we're recording it and we'll release the recording later if you can't make it on the actual day.
All right, awesome. We're glad you're back, at least in the ether.
I'll be back for 1 week. I'm coming to the island for the event, so I'll be there.
Excellent. Okay, well, there's nothing else, right, Leah? We're all set. Okay, so next meeting, September 9th, 2025 via Zoom. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Multiple seconds. Okay. Thirds. Okay. Roll call vote. Jennifer Carberg,
Aye.
Sarah Boyce,
Aye.
Gary Beller,
Bye.
Doug Rose,
Aye.
Hillary Hedges Rayport,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Joanna Roach,
Aye.
Liz Phelps,
Aye.
Matt Fee,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. All right, you guys, awesome day outside. Go outside. Okay, bye.
Meeting.
Bye-bye.